Imagine sitting quietly in a room, away from the chaos of daily life. No distractions, no noise, just the sound of your own breathing. What happens in these moments of silence? Do you feel uncomfortable, or do you find a sense of peace? Silence, often underestimated in its power, has been a source of wisdom for centuries. Yet, we live in a world that demands constant noise and activity. In this chapter, we will explore the idea that silence is not simply the absence of sound. It is an active presence that holds a wealth of wisdom. The paradox of silence. Silence is often misunderstood. In our busy, noisy world, it can be seen as something negative or even uncomfortable. People often equate silence with loneliness, awkwardness, or emptiness. But if we look closer, silence is not empty at all. It is full of potential. It offers us space to think, to reflect, to understand, and to connect with ourselves and others on a deeper level. Silence is a mirror. What you see in it depends on your willingness to look. It is both a tool and a refuge, a powerful presence that shapes the way we engage with the world. As the famous proverb says, silence is a source of great strength. The depth of this statement isn't immediately obvious. At first glance, silence might seem weak, a sign of passivity or inaction. But in truth, it takes great strength to remain silent in situations that demand words. Silence allows us to pause, to step back, to reflect, and to make wise decisions. It is often in moments of silence that we gain clarity, peace, and insight. Silence as a form of communication. We often hear the phrase, "Speech is silver, silence is golden." This proverb speaks volumes about the importance of silence. In a world that emphasizes speaking and action, silence stands out as a rare yet invaluable skill. It teaches us that sometimes the most powerful message is the one we don't speak. Think about the times when silence has spoken more than words ever could. A moment of silence in the face of grief. A pause before answering a difficult question. Silence in the presence of nature. These moments of quiet communication are powerful because they give us space to reflect, to listen, and to understand. In conversations, silence can be more eloquent than any well-structured sentence. It allows the listener to process information and emotions, and it encourages deeper connections. Silence speaks volumes in our relationships, whether between friends, partners, or even strangers. It can communicate empathy, respect, and understanding in ways words cannot. The universality of silence in wisdom. Silence is not only valued in the Western world, but it also holds great importance in many other cultures and traditions around the world. The wisdom of silence is universal, spanning across time and geography. In Eastern philosophy, silence is seen as a path to enlightenment. The Zen teachings of Japan, for example, emphasize silence as a means of clearing the mind and finding inner peace. In Taoism, silence is considered a key component of living in harmony with the natural world, allowing one to connect with the Tao, the fundamental force that flows through all life. In the Christian tradition, silence has been revered as a way to hear God's voice. Many of the great saints and mystics of history practiced silence, believing that it was in the stillness of the soul that one could truly understand the divine will. The Desert Fathers, early Christian hermits, lived lives of solitude and silence, finding wisdom in their stillness. Even in the modern world, silence is recognized as essential for mental well-being. Research in psychology has shown that silence can help reduce stress, improve concentration, and enhance creativity. In a world where we are constantly bombarded by noise, silence is increasingly recognized as a vital tool for mental and emotional health. Silence as an active choice. What sets the wisdom of silence apart is that it is not simply the absence of sound. It is an active choice. To choose silence in a moment of conflict, for example, can be far more powerful than engaging in an argument. To remain silent in the face of negativity or aggression can be an act of strength, patience, and wisdom. Silence is not a sign of weakness or indecision. It is a conscious decision to avoid unnecessary conflict and to reflect before reacting. In today's fast-paced, reactive society, silence can be a radical act. It takes courage to resist the impulse to speak or act immediately. But it is precisely in these moments of restraint that we can make the most thoughtful and deliberate choices. Silence allows us to remain centered and focused, regardless of external pressures. Proverbs and quotes about silence. To deepen our understanding of silence, let's look at some timeless proverbs and quotes from different cultures. Silence is a true friend who never betrays. Confucius. This quote highlights the reliability of silence. Unlike words, which can be misinterpreted or used to deceive, silence is a constant and unwavering companion. The quieter you become, the more you can hear. Ram Dass. This quote speaks to the power of silence in enhancing our awareness. In silence, we are better able to hear not just the words of others, but also our inner voice, our intuition, and the subtle messages of the world around us. Silence is the sleep that nourishes wisdom. Francis Bacon. Silence, like rest, nourishes our capacity for insight. When we allow ourselves to be still, our minds have the space to process information, to reflect, and to find deeper understanding. Nothing is more revealing than silence. Claude Debussy. Silence can often reveal more about a person or a situation than words ever could. When words fail, silence speaks the truth that may otherwise remain hidden. The role of silence in our modern lives. As we move forward into this noisy modern world, it is essential to recognize the value of silence. The constant hum of social media, work deadlines, and daily responsibilities can make it difficult to find moments of true quiet. Yet, the need for silence has never been greater. In the age of information overload, silence allows us to clear the mental clutter and focus on what truly matters. In the next chapters, we will explore how silence functions in various areas of life: communication, conflict, spirituality, and personal growth. But before we dive deeper into these topics, let's remember that the wisdom of silence isn't just a passive state of being. It is an active, intentional choice that can transform our lives for the better. In this first chapter, we've laid the foundation for understanding the profound wisdom of silence. Silence is not merely an absence of sound. It is a tool for reflection, communication, and connection. It is a strength, a presence, and a choice. As we move forward in this journey of exploring silence, remember that it is not about avoiding noise, but about finding peace and wisdom in the stillness. In the next chapter, we will explore how silence can improve communication, making it a vital tool for building stronger relationships. Silence in communication. More than words. Have you ever been in a conversation where the pauses between words felt as important as the words themselves? Perhaps you've had a conversation with someone who, though silent, communicated more through their silence than they did through their words. In communication, silence is often underestimated. We are taught that to communicate is to speak, to share thoughts and emotions out loud. But what if the most powerful communication comes not from what is spoken, but from what is left unsaid? In this chapter, we will explore the critical role silence plays in communication and how it can be more meaningful than words in some circumstances. The power of listening. Before we can understand the role of silence, we must first appreciate the art of listening. Listening is not just hearing. It is being fully present with someone, absorbing what they are saying, and sometimes even what they are not saying. In this context, silence allows us to listen more attentively. When we remain silent, we create the space for others to express themselves without feeling interrupted or judged. Listening, truly listening, requires a certain quietness of the mind. It involves suspending our internal dialogue and focusing entirely on the speaker. This is where silence becomes powerful. By choosing silence, we make the other person feel heard, valued, and understood. In turn, the speaker is more likely to open up, share more deeply, and communicate more clearly. Proverb: a fool speaks, a wise man listens. Ancient proverb. This proverb speaks to the wisdom in silence during communication. When we speak less and listen more, we gain a deeper understanding of the situation and the person we are communicating with. Silence here is not an absence, but a presence that allows wisdom to take root. Silence as a tool for reflection. In conversations, silence is not only about listening to others, it is also about giving ourselves the opportunity to reflect during a conversation. Often, in fast-paced exchanges, we feel pressured to respond quickly. However, by embracing silence, we allow ourselves time to process what has been said before forming a response. This pause between listening and speaking can greatly improve the quality of our communication. A well-timed silence allows for reflection, helping us consider our words carefully. It prevents us from reacting impulsively and instead encourages us to respond thoughtfully. Whether it's during a personal conversation, a professional meeting, or even an argument, this reflective silence can guide us to make more measured, impactful responses. Example: think of a heated argument between two friends. One person says something hurtful, and the other is about to respond in kind. If the second person pauses for a few seconds instead of reacting immediately, they give themselves the time to choose a response that is more constructive rather than reactive. This moment of silence not only diffuses the situation, but also strengthens the relationship by allowing for a more thoughtful exchange. The role of silence in nonverbal communication. While we often focus on what we say, much of our communication happens without words. Our body language, facial expressions, and tone of voice all convey messages, but silence plays a huge role in nonverbal communication as well. Silence can speak volumes, often revealing more than words ever could. For instance, when we share a comfortable silence with someone, it can communicate trust and mutual understanding. You don't need to speak for the other person to know that you are present and engaged. On the other hand, silence in tense situations, such as when someone refuses to respond, can signal discomfort, resistance, or even disapproval. Proverb: silence is the most perfect expression of scorn. George Bernard Shaw. This quote demonstrates how silence can communicate a powerful message of disapproval or rejection. In relationships, whether personal or professional, silence can often reveal the true feelings we might not express in words. However, it's important to recognize that silence can be ambiguous, and its meaning may depend on the context and the relationship between the people involved. Silence in conflict, the most powerful reply. In situations of conflict, silence can be a powerful tool. Often in the heat of the moment, we feel the need to defend ourselves, explain our actions, or justify our position. But sometimes the wisest course of action is to remain silent. When we choose silence in the face of conflict, it has several benefits. First, it allows us to avoid escalating the situation. Words spoken in anger or frustration are often regretted later, and silence provides a buffer against this. Second, silence gives us time to think and reflect on the situation rather than reacting impulsively. Third, silence forces the other person to take responsibility for their own words and actions, instead of allowing them to put the blame or focus on us. Example: Imagine a workplace scenario where a colleague criticizes your work in front of a group. Instead of jumping to defend yourself immediately, you remain silent for a few moments. This brief pause gives you time to assess whether the criticism is valid or if it's simply a reaction based on their own frustrations. By remaining silent, you can later approach the situation with calmness and clarity, rather than reacting out of emotion. The spiritual power of silence in communication. In many spiritual traditions, silence is considered a sacred practice that enhances communication with the divine. In prayer, meditation, and contemplation, silence is the channel through which individuals connect with their spiritual selves or the higher power they believe in. This form of communication requires deep presence and listening, and it can lead to profound insights and a stronger sense of inner peace. In these spiritual contexts, silence is not merely the absence of words, but the presence of something far more significant, an openness to receive wisdom, guidance, and understanding. Whether through prayer, meditation, or simply sitting in nature, silence allows individuals to hear the subtle messages that words cannot convey. Proverb: silence is the sleep that nourishes wisdom. Francis Bacon. This powerful quote highlights how silence nurtures our ability to receive deeper wisdom. It suggests that wisdom isn't always about speaking or knowing everything, but about creating the space to receive insights that cannot be captured in words. The challenge of embracing silence. Despite its immense power, silence can be difficult for many people to embrace, especially in a world that prizes constant communication and social interaction. The fear of awkwardness, discomfort, or judgment often compels us to fill silence with words, even when it's unnecessary. However, learning to embrace silence in communication can open the door to richer, more meaningful exchanges. Proverb: silence is sometimes the best answer. Dalai Lama. The Dalai Lama's words remind us that silence is not an absence but a choice, one that often leads to greater understanding and resolution. In our fast-paced world, it is easy to overlook the wisdom in silence, but as we begin to appreciate its power, we'll find that our conversations become more intentional and our relationships more authentic. Conclusion: silence as a vital communication tool. In this chapter, we've explored how silence serves as an essential element in communication. It's not just about what is said, but what is not said, what is conveyed in the pauses, the moments of reflection, and the non-verbal cues. Silence enhances our ability to listen, understand, reflect, and connect with others in more profound ways. It encourages us to pause before responding, helping us avoid reactive communication and fostering deeper connections. As we continue our exploration of silence in the following chapters, we will discover how it can play an even more significant role in conflict resolution, self-reflection, and spiritual growth. But for now, let's remember that silence, when used intentionally, can transform the way we communicate and deepen our relationships. Silence in conflict. The power of not reacting. Imagine a situation where tension is rising, words are being exchanged quickly, voices are getting louder, and emotions are running high. Your first instinct may be to respond, to defend yourself, or to clarify your position. But what if, instead of responding immediately, you chose silence? A few moments of silence, a deliberate pause before speaking, might just be the most powerful action you can take. In this chapter, we will explore how silence can be one of the most effective tools in resolving conflicts. Often, it's in the heat of an argument or difficult conversation that silence reveals its true strength. It is not passive. It is an active choice that can diffuse tensions, prevent escalation, and lead to more thoughtful and peaceful resolutions. The role of silence in diffusing tension. In the midst of a conflict, our emotions often cloud our judgment. We feel the need to respond quickly, to justify our actions, or to protect ourselves. But this immediate reaction can sometimes make things worse, intensifying the situation and leading to more hurt or misunderstanding. Silence, on the other hand, gives us the opportunity to stay grounded and regain control over our emotions. By choosing silence, we give ourselves the space to think clearly, to assess the situation, and to decide the best course of action. Silence is not an absence of action, it is an action in itself. It allows us to prevent impulsive reactions and choose words that are more likely to bring resolution rather than exacerbate the conflict. Proverb: silence is one of the great arts of conversation. Marcus Tullius Cicero. This quote emphasizes that silence is not just the absence of talking, it is a powerful tool in itself. In conflict, silence allows us to step back and let the other person speak their mind fully, without interruption, which can often lead to better understanding and more productive conversations. Silence as a shield in arguments. One of the most common situations in which silence can be powerful is during arguments. When tensions are high, words are often spoken in the heat of the moment, and these words can sometimes be harsh or unfair. A quick defensive response can escalate the situation and turn a minor disagreement into a full-blown conflict. In these situations, silence can serve as a shield. It prevents us from saying things we might regret later and creates a buffer between our emotions and our actions. By remaining silent, we protect ourselves from the temptation to respond rashly. Instead, we give ourselves time to cool down, reflect, and consider a more measured response. Example: picture a couple in a disagreement about household responsibilities. One person says something hurtful, accusing the other of never pulling their weight. Instead of immediately firing back with an equally harsh comment, the other person remains silent. This silence allows the first person to pause and reconsider their words. When the silence is broken, it is with a calm, thoughtful response that focuses on resolving the issue rather than escalating it. The power of silence in non-defensive communication. When we feel attacked or misunderstood, our instinct is often to defend ourselves. But in many cases, a defensive response only serves to escalate the conflict. Silence, however, can be a form of non-defensive communication. It communicates that you are not engaging in the conflict on the same emotional level as the other person. By remaining silent, you refuse to be drawn into an emotional battle. You are signaling that you are not going to react to the provocation, and instead, you are in control of your emotional state. This can have a powerful effect on the person you're dealing with, often disarming them and causing them to reconsider their approach. Proverb: a wise man does not argue, a fool does. Ancient proverb. This proverb speaks to the idea that engaging in an argument is not always a sign of wisdom. Sometimes the wisest thing to do is to remain silent, letting the other person speak their mind without reacting. Silence in the face of provocation demonstrates that you are not interested in fighting, but in resolving the situation peacefully. Silence in the face of insults, a sign of strength, not weakness. In conflicts, especially when insults or harsh words are thrown, the natural instinct is to respond, either with a sharp retort or by defending our honor. But silence in the face of insults can often be the most powerful response. It shows that you are not affected by the words of others, and that you are above petty arguments. This is not to say that silence is a form of submission or weakness. In fact, choosing silence in such situations requires strength and self-control. It demonstrates emotional maturity and the ability to remain calm under pressure. Often, those who insult others do so because they are seeking a reaction. When they don't get it, they may be left feeling disarmed and unsure of how to proceed. Example: Imagine being in a professional setting where a colleague criticizes your work publicly in an unprofessional manner. Rather than responding with a defensive comment, you choose silence. You don't retaliate or let the criticism provoke you. The silence in this moment speaks volumes, demonstrating that you are confident in your work and that you won't engage in unnecessary conflict. The long-term benefits of silence in conflict. The benefits of using silence in conflict go beyond immediate resolution. Over time, silence helps to build a reputation for calmness and maturity. People begin to recognize that you are someone who can be trusted to stay composed in challenging situations. You are not easily provoked, and you are capable of handling conflict with grace. This reputation for emotional stability can improve your relationships, both personally and professionally. It allows you to navigate difficult situations without escalating them, which can make you a more effective leader, a more reliable friend, and a more respected colleague. Proverb: silence is the best response to a fool. Proverbs 26:4. This ancient wisdom reminds us that not every situation requires a response. Sometimes silence is the most appropriate answer, especially when dealing with individuals who are not open to constructive dialogue. By choosing silence, you maintain your dignity and prevent the situation from devolving into further conflict. Silence as a tool for reflection. During conflict. During a conflict, it's easy to become consumed by our emotions, which can cloud our judgment and lead to rash decisions. Silence provides the opportunity for reflection. It allows us to step back and evaluate the situation more objectively. It gives us the space to assess the other person's perspective, understand our own feelings, and consider the best path forward. This reflective silence is often what makes the difference between a conflict that escalates into a full-blown argument and one that can be resolved peacefully. By taking a moment to be silent, we gain clarity on what truly matters in the situation and what the most constructive response will be. Example: in a workplace disagreement, one colleague may become frustrated and raise their voice. Instead of immediately firing back with your own frustrations, you take a moment of silence. This silence gives you time to reflect on the situation, to understand whether the colleague's frustration is valid, and to consider how to address the issue calmly and professionally. Conclusion: the strength of silence in conflict. In this chapter, we have explored the profound power of silence in conflict. Silence is not an absence of action, but rather an active choice to refrain from reacting impulsively. In moments of tension, silence can diffuse hostility, give us the time to reflect, and help us respond more thoughtfully. It allows us to rise above the immediate emotions of a conflict and approach the situation with clarity, maturity, and composure. By choosing silence in conflict, we not only protect ourselves from unnecessary escalation, but we also create space for understanding and resolution. Silence, as we've seen, is a tool of strength, one that can guide us toward more peaceful, constructive outcomes. As we move forward, we will examine how silence also plays a crucial role in personal growth and self-reflection. In the next chapter, we will explore how silence offers us the opportunity to cultivate inner peace and gain deeper self-awareness. The inner peace of silence, meditation, and reflection. In today's world filled with constant distractions, noise, and stimulation, silence can feel like a rare treasure. Yet it is in silence that we often find the most profound connection to our inner selves. The hustle and bustle of modern life can create a constant sense of noise, whether it's the incessant buzzing of notifications, the demands of work and relationships, or the overwhelming flow of information we encounter daily. In this noise, it is easy to lose touch with ourselves, our thoughts, and our deeper truths. But silence, especially when intentionally embraced, offers a refuge, a space for reflection, relaxation, and inner peace. In this chapter, we will explore the transformative power of silence in meditation and self-reflection. We will discuss how silence helps to cultivate inner peace, deepen self-awareness, and provide clarity amidst the chaos. Silence is not just an absence of noise. It is an active practice that helps us reconnect with ourselves and find tranquility. The role of silence in meditation. Meditation is one of the most powerful practices that rely on silence. It is through silence that we can quiet the mind and experience a sense of peace that goes beyond the noise of our daily lives. In meditation, silence serves as the foundation for inner calm. It is in this quiet space that we can become more attuned to our thoughts, emotions, and physical sensations. When we meditate, we create a space where we can detach from external distractions and connect with our inner world. This silence is not merely the absence of sound, but the cessation of the constant mental chatter that often overwhelms us. In the stillness, we can become more aware of our breath, our thoughts, and the present moment. This mindfulness allows us to experience a deeper sense of peace and clarity. Proverb. In the silence of the heart, we hear God's voice. St. Augustine. This proverb speaks to the spiritual aspect of silence in meditation. By silencing our inner noise, we can hear a deeper, more authentic voice, whether it is our intuition, a higher spiritual calling, or simply a clearer understanding of our own desires and needs. Silence as a path to self-reflection. Beyond meditation, silence provides us with the opportunity for self-reflection. In the stillness, we can take a step back from the demands of the world and reflect on our lives, our choices, and our goals. Self-reflection is essential for personal growth because it allows us to examine our thoughts, emotions, and actions from a place of calm. Silence encourages this introspection by creating the space to think deeply without outside interference. In moments of silence, we can ask ourselves important questions. What do I truly want from my life? How have I been feeling lately? And why? What changes can I make to align my actions with my values? These moments of reflection are crucial for gaining self-awareness, recognizing patterns, and making conscious decisions about how we want to live. Silence becomes a mirror, allowing us to see ourselves clearly and honestly. Proverb. The quieter you become, the more you can hear. Ram Dass. This quote underscores the importance of silence in self-reflection. The quieter we become, the more we can hear our inner thoughts and truths. It is only when we stop the constant noise, both external and internal, that we can begin to understand ourselves fully. Silence as a tool for emotional healing. Silence also plays a vital role in emotional healing. In a world that encourages constant activity and distraction, we often avoid confronting our emotions, whether they are painful or uncomfortable. Silence provides the space to feel and process our emotions without external influence or judgment. By embracing silence, we give ourselves permission to feel, to grieve, to reflect, and to heal. Many times, when we are overwhelmed by sadness, anger, or confusion, we seek distractions to avoid dealing with those emotions. But it is in silence that we can face our feelings head-on, allowing them to pass through us and ultimately heal. Silence helps us understand our emotional state without rushing to fix things. It gives us the room to acknowledge, accept, and release our emotions, fostering a deeper sense of emotional well-being. Example: after a difficult experience such as the loss of a loved one or a painful breakup, many people find solace in silence. By sitting quietly with their thoughts, they allow themselves to process the grief or sadness. In this quiet space, they are not rushing to move on or to mask their feelings. Instead, they give themselves the time to heal. Knowing that silence can provide a safe space to work through complex emotions. the peace found in nature's silence. In addition to the silence we create within ourselves, silence can also be found in the natural world. Nature has an incredible ability to bring us into a state of stillness. When we immerse ourselves in nature, whether it's sitting by the ocean, walking in the forest, or simply observing the sky, we are often struck by the quiet serenity of the environment. The silence of nature is not empty. It is rich with life and beauty. It's a reminder that the world does not need to be noisy to be full of meaning. The chirping of birds, the rustling of leaves, or the gentle flow of water may seem like sounds, but they are part of a greater silence that allows us to reconnect with the earth and our place within it. Nature's silence provides us with a sense of peace that can be hard to find in our modern, overstimulated lives. Proverb: look deep into nature, and then you will understand everything better. Albert Einstein. This quote highlights how the silence of nature offers us the clarity and peace needed to see things from a new perspective. When we step into nature, we are given a moment of respite from the noise of our human-made world, allowing us to gain deeper insights about ourselves and the world around us. Silence in spiritual practice. A path to divine connection. Silence has always held a sacred place in spiritual traditions across the world. Whether it's through prayer, meditation, or contemplation, silence is seen as a way to connect with the divine. Many religious practices emphasize the importance of silence as a means of listening to God, the universe, or our higher selves. In silence, we create the space to hear divine guidance and wisdom. It is in these moments of stillness that we are often able to experience a profound sense of connection with something greater than ourselves. Silence opens the door to spiritual insight, peace, and a deeper understanding of the mysteries of life. Proverb: silence is the sleep that nourishes wisdom. Francis Bacon. This quote reflects how silence can nourish our spiritual lives. Just as sleep refreshes the body, silence refreshes the soul, providing the nourishment needed to gain deeper wisdom and understanding. The science behind silence and well-being. While the benefits of silence are often discussed in spiritual and philosophical terms, there is also scientific evidence that supports the positive effects of silence on mental health. Studies have shown that silence can help reduce stress, lower blood pressure, and improve focus and concentration. When we experience silence, our brains have the opportunity to process and recover from the overstimulation of daily life. The brain can relax and engage in restorative activities that contribute to overall well-being. In fact, research has found that a few minutes of silence can have a calming effect on the nervous system, reducing feelings of anxiety and helping us feel more centered. Conclusion: embracing silence for inner peace. In this chapter, we've explored the many ways in which silence can help us find inner peace, emotional healing, and deeper self-awareness. Silence is not simply the absence of sound. It is a powerful tool for meditation, self-reflection, and spiritual connection. It allows us to quiet the mind, heal emotional wounds, and gain clarity in our lives. By embracing silence in our daily lives, we can cultivate a deeper sense of peace and understanding. Whether through meditation, reflection, or time spent in nature, silence offers us the opportunity to reconnect with ourselves and the world around us. In a world that is constantly noisy and chaotic, silence becomes a refuge, a sanctuary where we can find the calm we need to navigate life with clarity and peace. As we move into the next chapter, we will explore how silence can lead to greater self-awareness and help us make more thoughtful and deliberate choices in our lives. Silence as wisdom, knowing when to speak and when to stay quiet. Have you ever found yourself in a conversation, feeling the urge to speak, but something inside of you tells you to hold back. In many situations, knowing when to remain silent is just as important, if not more important, than knowing when to speak. Silence in these moments becomes a form of wisdom. It's an active choice, one that requires patience, emotional intelligence, and a deep understanding of the situation at hand. But how do we know when silence is the right response? In this chapter, we will explore how silence can be a sign of wisdom. Sometimes the wisest action we can take is to stay quiet, allowing others to express themselves or creating space for deeper reflection. Knowing when to speak and when to remain silent is a powerful skill that can enhance our relationships, our decision-making, and our overall understanding of the world. Silence as a sign of emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence, EQ, is often described as the ability to recognize, understand, and manage our own emotions, as well as the emotions of others. One of the key aspects of emotional intelligence is the ability to respond appropriately in social situations. Silence is an important tool in this context. In emotionally charged situations, silence helps us avoid saying something we might later regret. It allows us to stay grounded and centered without being swept up in the heat of the moment. When we feel anger, frustration, or anxiety building up inside of us, choosing silence can be a sign of emotional maturity and self-control. It shows that we are not ruled by our emotions, but rather we have the ability to pause, reflect, and choose how to respond thoughtfully. Proverb: "The wise man is silent when a fool speaks." Ancient proverb. This proverb reflects the wisdom of choosing silence in the face of ignorance or foolishness. Sometimes silence is a powerful response because it avoids engaging in fruitless arguments. By remaining silent, we avoid wasting our energy on debates that won't lead to constructive outcomes. Silence as a tool for listening and understanding. Knowing when to remain silent is closely tied to the art of listening. In conversations, especially in situations where conflict or disagreement arises, the urge to speak up is often strong. However, sometimes it is more valuable to listen intently and allow the other person to share their thoughts fully before responding. Silence provides the space for the other person to speak their truth, and in doing so, we gain a deeper understanding of their perspective. Often, we listen not to understand, but to prepare our response. Silence, on the other hand, allows us to truly absorb what the other person is saying without being distracted by our own thoughts and opinions. This deeper level of listening leads to more meaningful conversations and better relationships. Example: imagine a situation where a friend is confiding in you about a personal struggle. Instead of immediately offering advice or trying to fix the situation, you allow them to speak without interruption. The silence in this moment shows them that you are fully present, offering them the space to express themselves without judgment. By the time they finish speaking, you have a clearer understanding of their feelings and can respond more thoughtfully. The wisdom of silence in decision-making. Sometimes, in the midst of making an important decision, we feel the pressure to act quickly. The world demands immediate responses, whether it's in our personal lives, at work, or in relationships. But quick decisions are often impulsive and can lead to regret. Silence provides the necessary space to pause, reflect, and consider all angles before making a choice. When we practice silence in decision-making, we create room for reflection. We are not rushing into a decision based on fleeting emotions or external pressures. Instead, we take the time to assess the situation, listen to our intuition, and weigh the potential outcomes. This pause can lead to more thoughtful, informed decisions that align with our values and long-term goals. Proverb: "He who speaks before he thinks is like a bird that flies before he is ready." Chinese proverb: This proverb emphasizes the importance of waiting before acting. It warns us that rushing into decisions or speaking without thought can lead to poor outcomes. Silence before action ensures that we are fully prepared to make a wise choice. Silence in conflict resolution. The power of pausing. In times of conflict, emotions can cloud our judgment, and the urge to speak or act impulsively can be strong. However, in these moments, silence can be a powerful tool for de-escalation. By pausing, we allow ourselves to take a step back, detach from the emotional heat of the situation, and gain a clearer perspective on the conflict. Silence in these situations doesn't mean avoiding the conflict. It means taking a moment to breathe, reflect, and choose a response that is more likely to lead to a peaceful resolution. This pause allows both parties to process their emotions and come to a more rational understanding, rather than allowing the situation to escalate further. Example: imagine a tense conversation at work where two colleagues are in disagreement over a project. Instead of immediately firing back with your own opinion, you pause in silence. This gives both you and the other person the space to cool down and think more clearly. When you resume the conversation, you are able to discuss the issue more calmly and constructively, leading to a resolution that benefits both parties. The wisdom of silence in difficult conversations. There are certain conversations in life that are difficult to navigate. Whether it's delivering bad news, discussing sensitive topics, or confronting someone about a problem. In these conversations, the urge to speak quickly and fix the situation can be overwhelming. But silence in these moments can be just as important as the words we choose to say. Silence in difficult conversations provides both parties with the opportunity to process the information. It gives the listener time to absorb what has been said without feeling the need to immediately respond. For the speaker, silence allows them to gather their thoughts and consider how to express their feelings in a clear and respectful way. This pause fosters a more open, honest exchange and creates the space for healing and understanding. Proverb: in silence we can hear the truth. Unknown, in difficult conversations, silence allows the truth to emerge, unfiltered and unclouded by hasty reactions or misunderstandings. It is in this stillness that we can better understand each other's perspectives and find common ground. The balance between speaking and silence. While silence can be a powerful tool, it is important to remember that it is not always the right choice. There are times when silence can be misinterpreted or even harmful, especially if it is used to avoid important conversations or to withhold necessary information. The key is finding the balance between speaking when it is necessary and remaining silent when it is wise. The wisdom of silence comes from knowing when to use it and when to break it. Silence should not be used as a means of avoidance, but as a tool for clarity, reflection, and understanding. It should not be employed as a way to control others or manipulate situations, but as a means of offering thoughtful responses and creating space for deeper connection. Conclusion: the power of knowing when to stay silent. In this chapter, we have explored the wisdom that lies in silence, the power of choosing when to speak and when to remain quiet. Silence is not simply the absence of sound. It is an active decision to create space for deeper understanding, reflection, and emotional intelligence. Knowing when to stay silent is a key component of emotional maturity and effective communication. By embracing silence in moments of conflict, decision-making, and even difficult conversations, we can respond with greater thoughtfulness and wisdom. Silence allows us to listen more deeply, reflect more clearly, and make more informed decisions. It is in these moments of stillness that we often find the most powerful answers. As we continue our exploration of silence, we will look at how it contributes to self-awareness, personal growth, and spiritual understanding in the next chapter. Silence, it turns out, is not only the gateway to wisdom, but to the deeper truths of our lives. The enduring wisdom of silence. As we bring this journey through the wisdom of silence to a close, it's important to reflect on what we have discovered. Silence is often misunderstood, seen merely as the absence of sound or an uncomfortable void. Yet, as we have seen, silence is a powerful force, one that carries immense wisdom, insight, and strength. It is not passive but active. It is not empty but full of possibility. Throughout this series, we have explored how silence can enhance communication, resolve conflicts, foster self-reflection, and lead us to greater emotional and spiritual growth. From listening more deeply in conversations to creating space for inner peace, silence serves as a tool for clarity, understanding, and transformation. It allows us to step back from the noise of the world, find our center, and connect with deeper truths. The lifelong journey with silence. In the fast-paced world we live in, silence may seem like a luxury we can't afford. We are constantly surrounded by noise, social media updates, notifications, the hum of everyday life. But silence is not just a retreat from the world, it is an essential part of how we engage with it. By embracing silence, we cultivate the ability to think clearly, make thoughtful decisions, and communicate with intention. The wisdom of silence is not something that is acquired overnight. It is a practice, a journey that requires patience, awareness, and dedication. It is about knowing when to speak and when to listen, when to act, and when to reflect. By making silence a part of our daily lives, we can learn to navigate the world with greater ease and understanding. Proverb: silence is a source of great strength. Lao Tzu. This ancient wisdom reminds us that silence is not weakness but strength. It is the quiet power that allows us to endure challenges, make wise decisions, and connect more deeply with others. In silence, we find the strength to be ourselves, to trust our inner voice, and to respond to the world in a way that is authentic and true. The healing power of silence. We have seen how silence can be a tool for emotional healing. In moments of grief, sadness, or stress, silence allows us to feel our emotions fully, without the need to explain or justify them. It is in these quiet moments that we can process our pain and allow ourselves the space to heal. Whether it's through meditation, time spent in nature, or simply sitting with our thoughts, silence provides a sanctuary for emotional restoration. It reminds us that healing doesn't always require words. Sometimes it simply requires stillness and acceptance. Silence as a path to deeper understanding. The true power of silence lies in its ability to deepen our understanding of ourselves, others, and the world around us. By embracing silence, we gain the ability to listen, not just to others, but to our inner voice, to the world around us, and to the quiet wisdom that is often drowned out by the noise of daily life. Through silence, we learn to reflect more clearly, communicate more effectively, and act with greater intention. We become more aware of our thoughts, feelings, and actions, and as a result, we grow into more mindful and compassionate individuals. Proverb: in silence, we find the answers we seek. Unknown. This final proverb encapsulates the essence of what silence offers us: answers. It is in the quiet moments of reflection that we often uncover the truths we've been searching for, whether they are insights about ourselves, our relationships, or the world. The lasting impact of silence. As we conclude this exploration of silence, remember that it is not a one-time practice or a concept to be understood and then discarded. Silence is a lifelong companion, one that continues to teach us valuable lessons as we move through life. It is a tool we can use every day to improve our communication, resolve conflicts, make better decisions, and achieve a deeper sense of peace. In a world that often feels chaotic and noisy, silence provides the balance we need. It gives us the space to be still, to reflect, and to grow. And as we learn to embrace silence in all aspects of our lives, we open the door to greater wisdom, clarity, and understanding. Silence, in all its forms, is a gift. It teaches us to listen deeply, reflect thoughtfully, and respond with wisdom. Whether we are using silence to communicate more effectively, resolve conflicts peacefully, or deepen our self-awareness, it remains one of the most powerful tools we have. As you move forward, remember that silence is not an absence. It is a presence, a force that can guide you through the complexities of life. Embrace it, practice it, and let it lead you to greater understanding, peace, and wisdom.